안녕하세요. 오늘은 제가 특별한 장소에서 특별한 분을 모시고 인터뷰를 하게 됐습니다. 와, 이렇게 위스키의 거장을 옆에 모시고 인터뷰를 할 수 있게 되어서 너무너무 영광인데요. 인터뷰를 하실 분은 데릴이라고 하는 리마바디 위스키를 만드신 분이자 마스터 디스틸러예요. 평소에 리마바디 위스키에 대해서 궁금했던 것들 뿐만 아니라 좀 위스키를 좋아하는 한 덕후로서 궁금했던 것까지 한번 다 물어보는 시간을 가져보겠습니다.
Thank you very much. My name is Darryl McNally. I'm the owner and CEO of Limaba디 Irish Whiskey. It's great to be in South Korea and great to meet you.
So honored to meet you. Thank you for having an interview with me.
No, you're welcome.
From your interview, I saw that you spent a lot of time in your family's local pub during childhood.
That's right.
So do you remember what your first whiskey was and what it was?
Yes, sure. When I started to make whiskey back in 1998, it wasn't a surprise to my family because when I was born, my mum and dad actually ran the local Irish bar. When I was literally born from my mother, a day two out of the hospital, I came to the family Irish bar. So by the time I was 2 years old, I was pouring pints of Guinness. I knew the difference between brown spirits, whiskey, and clear spirits. I remember even starting to work in the bar at a very young age, maybe 15 or 16. I was born in the bar. I knew so much about the drinks industry. But I remember my first whiskey, some Bushmills at 18 years old. Bushmills would have been very close to where I live. I wasn't overly impressed at that younger age, but over time I started to pick up and develop the taste for whiskey.
So Limaba디 is an old distillery dating back to 1750, right? You're a descendant of the Limaba디 distiller. What motivated you to revive the distillery?
It's quite weird because we didn't really track our history until after I was a distiller. I started in Bushmills in 1998. It was only maybe in the year 2005, some of our family from America came back to trace their family tree, and they actually found out that my mother's side owned Limaba디 Distillery in 1880. And that sort of planted a seed in my head to think, well, I'm a distiller, my brother's a distiller. I left Bushmills to go and build a distillery in Dublin Liberty's distillery. There was still that little thing in your belly which made you think, I'm not finished, I'm not sure what I want to do. When I questioned myself, I found out that it was to bring back Limaba디 Irish whiskey. I'm so glad that I have now, and it's so good to travel the world and spread stories of Limaba디. But it's a really old whiskey dating back to 1750. It's not a new kid in the block. I'm just so honoured to be able to bring it back to life again.
Okay, so you're an independent distiller. So it would be not easy,
Correct,
you know?
but I think if you have good quality liquid, you have a desire and a love for the liquid, I think that will prevail. And I think in a few years' time, there may be some of the the bigger players come along. But in the meantime, I just keep telling the story, loving Limaba디 and enjoying myself and making good liquid, and the rest should hopefully follow.
You are known as one of the most awarded master distiller in Ireland. I guess you are born with like a natural gift from your ancestor. When did you find your talents as a master blender?
My original degree was accountancy and corporate financial management. I actually got my job in Bushmills to buy the packaging, to buy the bottles and the labels and the caps and the corks. And it's from there that I started to really look at the process of making whiskey. So interesting that I was finding myself going, oh, how do you make that? And what about this? Probably the DNA. I was so interested in it that I decided then to do a degree through the Institute of Brewing and Distilling in 2010. But it was great because I got the opportunity then to manage Bushmills, one of the oldest licensed distillery in the world. I loved every minute of it, and I couldn't say any day was work because you're going in to do something you essentially love to do.
Oh, that's lovely. I studied brewing distilling for my master's degree, but I never interested in the production side at all.
No?
I don't have any DNA here. So Limaba디 made a splash worldwide and it won numerous awards. Congratulations.
Thank you.
In Korea, Limaba디 is relatively unfamiliar for Korean whiskey drinker because it has not been on the market so long. A lot of subscribers are curious what Limaba디 pursue regarding characteristics or DNA or house styles.
I've noticed in Korea when I've been here, it's very much single malt, almost Scotch orientated. So there's not so much Irish. What I wanted to create with Limaba디, with working at Bushmills, I always was very much a single malt person or single malt master distiller. So with Limaba디, I wanted to create something where the price was maybe a little bit lower, but it still had triple distilled. It's matured in first fill bourbons. It's finished in Pedro Jimenez, so that lovely spicy vanilla, a little bit of chili on the tongue. And then we finish it in Pedro Jimenez, which gives that sweetness, maltiness here. And it's really a very simple, easy single malt, but it's a little bit more characterful and bold. Limaba디 is no smoky character because it is Irish, and it's at 46%, so I think it is ideal ideal for the South Korean consumer.
So speaking of taste, shall we drink Limaba디 whiskey?
Sláinte. So in the smell, you get quite a bit of fruit, spice, yeah?
I smell a little bit pepper.
Pepper, yes,
Yeah,
the spicy pepper from the bourbon.
So delicious. I love it.
So you get that in the tongue where it's spicy, peppery if you like a little bit of chili, but not in a bad way. It's in a very nice way. And then your second taste, more of the sweetness coming through. The Pedro Jimenez cask, you get the maltiness here and a long lingering finish. No burn, it's very balanced. It doesn't taste like a 46. I've heard so many bartenders around the world saying that it's very difficult to make a cocktail with Irish whiskey because it doesn't come through. Limaba디 with the spice and with the sweetness and with the 46%, I think it's a perfect base for cocktails as well.
Yeah.
You can really taste the whiskey coming through in the cocktail.
It's easy to imagine that I can make a highball with Limaba디 whiskey for customer. Will go well with Korean barbecue.
Absolutely, yeah. Should do a toast.
Yeah, sure.
Will we do the cheeky toast or will we do just a normal toast?
What's a cheeky toast?
So 4 things an Irishman likes to do. Here's to cheating, here's to stealing, here's to fighting, here's to drinking.
That's all bad things.
No, but wait, if you're going to cheat, make sure you cheat death. If you're going to steal, make sure you steal your sweetheart's heart away. If you're going to fight, fight for your friends. If you're going to drink Limaba디 Irish whiskey. So with me.
Cilantro.
You like?
Yeah, I love it. It has very deep flavor, but it's very soft. I love the creaminess.
What I tried to produce with Limaba디, sometimes I worry some of the Scottish single malts can be a little bit too harsh for the younger consumer.
Right.
I want to try and bring something that much more robust for an Irish whiskey, but still a single malt, some nice complexity.
So the bottle is quite a modern, but one of my subscribers said it's really hard to open the glass stopper.
Yes.
So is there any reason you want to use glass stopper?
The bottle itself is the same bottle that they used in the late 1800s. So what I wanted to do was to keep that old bottle, keep the history, keep the heritage, even this Irish typography writing. That's the same, it's nearly identical to what the bottle was way back in the late 1800s. With this blob, when you used to blow the glass, to keep this really old look to it, if I was to put a cork in there, because of the concave, the cork wouldn't fit, so it would actually pop. The cork needs 17.5 millimeters in order to hold the bottle. If it's traveling to create a heat from the container, the corks would pop. So we'd take the old, the history, the historic heritage, and the only downside is that we couldn't use a cork. So we improvised and we used this little Vinlock fitment, which is very easy. Open and close. 2 thumbs, just ever so gently. Don't grab it and try and pull it off like this. It'll end up knocking somebody's eye.
So Limaba디 can be stored lying down because it's not a cork. Oh, okay. That's good to know. Limaba디 is single barrel, single malt whiskey, which is very unique. Is there any reasons you stick to single barrel?
Yeah, the single barrel, it's something that's maybe not so popular in South Korea yet, but in the US and German markets, whiskey enthusiasts love individual single casks. What master blenders do usually is marry them all together, mix them together and bottle it. But each bottling or each batch of bottling will always be that little bit different because all casks are not the same. I thought it would be fun to do every PX cask, Pedro Jimenez cask, bottle it individually, which to me, it's bringing the art of blending right to every consumer. That's the fun. Drinking whiskey should be fun.
Well, I think that would be quite a risky because you never know what kind of result will come out.
There won't be any crazy differences. I hand pick and hand test every single cask. I wouldn't let it be bottled unless it's reached that level of what Limaba디 should taste. So don't worry, consumers, it'll be all good.
Single pastille whiskey represents Irish whiskeys. Do you have any plan to release a single pastille whiskey in the near future?
Single pot still only came about because there was a tax in malted barley in 1785. So a lot of the more southern distilleries maybe opted to do a mix of malted barley and unmalted barley. With the geography of where Limaba디 is in the north of Ireland, it's very much linked to single malts like Scotland. But never say never. But to me, I would rather play with triple distilled malt and different finishes and try and give different exotic tastes. Single malt. With me working in Bushmills as master distiller there, I was very much a triple distilled malt master distiller. So I will leave the single pot still to the guys who produce down south. I'll try and stick to single malt.
will move on to interesting questions. How often do you drink whiskey?
When I travel every day, a good way to check the quality control.
So you have a good excuse to drink more.
Yes. But when I'm at home and I'm not traveling, I enjoy Limaba디 on a Friday evening, and you've all your work done about 6:30, 7 o'clock, with maybe one ice cube in it, and just sit and sip it.
You have been drinking over a long period. Do you have your own way to keep yourself healthy?
If you're traveling and you're drinking every day, when you go back home, you try then to take a break from drinking. I also think that milk thistle, very, very good.
I take it every day.
You take it every day?
Yeah.
There you go. Just watch you don't drink too much. So it's about going home and detoxifying and some milk thistle and drink plenty of water.
Last year, Irish whiskey in South Korea reported 11% growth. What factor do you think contributes to this popularity of Irish whiskey in South Korea?
Well, Scotch whiskey tends to be quite flat from a growth perspective.
Yeah.
Irish whiskey has been showing double-digit growth for the last number of years. The Irish Whiskey Association and I believe that by 2030 that it'll double again in size. A lot of the growth will come from Asian markets. If you look at the sales of Scotch and Irish in America, Irish sells more than Scotch. So Irish is only really beginning to get a chance to come into Asian countries. But having spent a little bit of time now in Korea and asking some of the team who distribute for us, what are the characteristics of what Korean people like to drink, and it's that soft, smooth, sort of sweet taste, which I think Irish whiskey is probably more suited to Scotch
Korean.
than the tastings that we've did this week when I was in market. The amount of people, there wasn't one person who didn't like Limaba디, so that speaks volumes for me. People actually genuinely enjoyed it. I think that the 11% growth in South Korea will only grow even more.
My last question, what is your impression visiting Korea? And then I'm also curious how you see the Korean whiskey market.
Yeah, I love Korea. It's really clean and tidy. I think the people are really nice, they're really friendly. I've got to see some of the bars and the culture, and I really, really like it. When I go into the bars, I always try to look at what whiskies, etc. It's very single malt Scotch orientated. A few more Limaba디 editions will help people maybe enjoy a little bit more of the Irish single malts. It's going great times ahead for Korea. I intend to come here every year and really try and grow Limabaди in Korea, because I think it's a very good market. I have lots of friends here already.
Cool. Whenever I meet a person who wants to try whiskey for the first time in their life, I always recommend Irish whiskey rather than Scottish whiskey. I will recommend Limaba디 whiskey.
That would be great.
Well, thank you for having an interview with me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sláinte.
Sláinte. 이상으로 너무너무 맛있고 재미있는 이야기가 가득한 리마바디 위스키, 이 위스키를 만든 대리가 인터뷰였습니다. 모두 리마바디 위스키 많이 성원해주시고 사랑해주세요. 안녕.